Hello, I'm Ian and this is Jane, and we're from 2 Australia, and this is the Friends for Life course. And this is the fourth session of this course, and if you haven't done the other 3 sessions, highly recommend you go back and complete the first 3 before doing this one. This particular session we're going to be talking about intimacy, particularly sexual intimacy, but also our intimacy as regards our relationship with each other, and also intimacy with God. So Jane, if we're looking at intimacy, what is God's purpose to sexual intimacy in marriage?
I think we need to go back to the Garden of Eden to really understand what it was. And really, it was a gift of God to each person who's married, and that's really what he intended in the beginning. It was a very special gift. He intended that gift to bring life. He said, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth." So he wanted it to bring forth natural life, as in children, and he also wanted it to produce life emotionally and spiritually between a husband and a wife. And there's nothing so intimate as our sex life. It's the one thing that really, really should be unique to a marriage. And in the Garden of Eden, there were certain aspects to that, their life, their sexual union, and also just their life together. Adam and Eve were totally naked, and usually when we have sex we are, and totally unashamed. There was no shame between them. There was nothing that stood between them, and also they were totally transparent with each other.
Now, so there was no confusion, was there?
No confusion. And the other thing I think that people often don't think is that God really wanted it to be fun. He wanted it to be just the most wonderful, wonderful gift that he could actually give, that he really wanted it to produce life in those areas. So that was God's intention, but something went wrong. So what went wrong?
Well, Eve was tempted by Satan. She wanted to be like God and to know all things, and so she did what God actually commanded her not to do, and gave some fruit to Adam, that they weren't to eat of that fruit. And Adam, well, he disobeyed God too. It wasn't just Eve. He knew what he should do, but he decided not to actually do that thing. And so he actually put Eve really in the place of God. He put her opinion above God's opinion and ate that as well. And so they sinned and they fell. And it said that they became ashamed, and they tried to cover up. Previously, as you said, they were naked and unashamed. Now they were actually ashamed of their nakedness, and they tried to cover up, and confusion entered at that particular point. They really didn't understand each other, and I'm sure you find that yourselves. You don't always understand your wife, and your wife doesn't understand you. And so the devil, he deceived Eve in doing that, and he's tried to deceive area of sexual intimacy and intimacy with each other ever since, deceived not only our intimacy as a relationship between each other, but also our intimacy with God. Jane, what are some of the counterfeits that Satan has brought into our sexual intimacy?
Yeah. Well, instead of that sex being loving and giving and actually bringing life, he actually has made us think that it's all about us. It's about making me happy. It's about how I feel. And it's all about me, and me. And basically the Bible would call that lust. So now instead of loving and giving towards the other person, we lust for ourselves and what we can get out of that relationship. So I think men particularly suffer from lust because God made them to need sex, to show that they are loved. And right. So men, but women too fall for counterfeits, but some of the counterfeits that people fall for are obviously pornography. Men, it's all about sight and what they see. So pornography is a huge area of temptation. and it divides the purity of sexual intimacy between a husband and wife. People now do things like sex outside of marriage. God never intended that.
We certainly did, didn't
Yeah.
we? Yeah,
That's it.
That was our story.
That's it. So before you get married, you have sex, so that it's not a special gift on your wedding night. After marriage, you're having sex with other people, or looking at the girls on the beach, or women are looking at other men and imagining what it might be like to sleep with them, or actually sleeping with them. And also we have other things too, like we have homosexuality. God never intended these sort of things, and this is the counterfeits that have come in and actually caused great shame. Now, there's also other things there too that, sometimes, particularly on a woman's side, or even men have this happen to them too, they get raped. That this brings great wounding in their sexual areas. And
so the other people that actually sin against them and abuse them sexually.
That's it. So it's not just about the sins that we do, it's about the sins that come against us and actually cause wounding and shame. And actually even having sex before marriage, because really sex before marriage is really called, I want to fulfill my own needs. We're actually wounding the other person sexually.
It's all about getting rather than giving, isn't it?
That's right. So this is where Satan has come in and he's corrupted the whole amazing gift that God gave, and he's turned it into almost like a curse, but it's not really. It's just something that he's done to destroy what God intended to be good. He's made into evil.
Yeah, so sexual intimacy is not a curse, is it?
No.
I know the devil is trying to make it that way, but God, he wants it as a blessing, something that is amazing and is fun and actually enhances our intimacy or our relationship with each other.
That's it.
Yeah.
And so that is what we're trying to talk about today. Later we're going to talk about how do we get restoration.
That's right.
And also how do we then sow back the blessing into this area of our marriage.
Some very practical things. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So in this interactive, we'd just like you to just think about the counterfeits to sexual intimacy, the things that the devil has brought deception in. And so what are the things that maybe you have experienced? What counterfeits have you experienced? And you can just write those things down, and we'll come back and talk about those in the next session.